Well, hello, Peachtree Corners. Again, Brian Johnson, City Manager, going to spend a couple minutes with you talking about things that are going on in our community, both serious as well as lighthearted and positive, as we all are in this unique new normal of trying to stop the spread of this coronavirus. So I wanted to start with a couple of things to talk about. One is overall, if there's any message that anybody that's listening and lives or works here in Peachtree Corners could remember, and that is, we're going to get through this. We're all in it together, and we're going to get through it together. The old adage of misery loves company does oftentimes ring true, and that is, anytime I know I'm feeling sorry for myself, so to speak, where, I wish that I could take the family certain places or, go to Disney World or, our vacation plans got, changed. I just have to, look around at all the other families that are going through the same thing. And then when I really look around, I notice the things that they're doing to take advantage of a situation they had no cause of. I mean, it is really cool to be going around the city as I've had to do for my job here, and to see a significant increase in the amount of activity out on our sidewalks and other areas of people exercising, or just families walking the dog, getting out on their bikes, people doing it both for just spending time together as a family or for pure exercise sake. It is it warms the heart to see people just making lemonade out of lemons. And so I appreciate all of you who are doing that, all of you who are providing a positive example of, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get in shape, or I'm going to spend more time with the family. I mean, the things that some of my friends are talking about, family game nights and other things that were not happening before because we were too busy. They're taking advantage of it, and it is is good to see. Now, with all of that, that in and of itself is a change. There's a couple things that came out from all the activity we've had out on the roads or the sidewalks. I do want to encourage everybody to be considerate of others as you're out doing certain things. And by consideration in this particular topic, I want to make sure that you understand that when there are a lot of people out on sidewalks walking or running, that you've got to be considerate of other people's space. If you've got a family that is walking down the sidewalk, don't walk abreast of one another. Walk in single file so people come in the other direction, or are coming from behind you, can get around you, and they don't have to go out into the street or in other people's yards. Things like that, bicycles, try to ride on roads that don't have a lot of traffic. Depending on what kind of cycling you're doing, if you're just kind of doing, the touring type where you're just out to enjoy things, it might be okay to be on the sidewalk, but technically speaking, bicyclists are supposed to be in the road. And certainly if you are a cyclist who are out there looking to do, rack up lots of miles at a high rate of speed, do it in the road, just stay to the right. And be cognizant and considerate of traffic, of people that do need to go to essential locations. But again, great to see so many people doing things together. Just again, be considerate. A couple things I want to throw out also. The CARES Act. For those of you who know what that is, that's the money the federal government has appropriated and made available for individuals or companies, depending on what part of the CARE Act they're looking to get, which allows people to get unemployment, or in some cases loans or grants, to essentially tide them over to when we kind of go back to a time where there are no businesses being closed. The purpose, of course, is to keep the economy lubricated enough so that when we do go back to everybody at work, that we have had as few jobs lost permanently and as few companies closed permanently as we can. Why I'm bringing that up is because the CARES Act, both in the scope and the purpose, are unprecedented in the city's or in this country's history. And so it is a complicated series of things, series of steps that even the federal government are learning, as they go. We have contact information and links and other resources that we can direct somebody to if they're having a problem navigating through to get this. So if any of you are wondering whether you qualify, or if you do, how to navigate, we have my Department of Economic Development, and individuals there have resources they can direct you to help you. So don't hesitate, don't assume, especially that you may not qualify. We're here to help. We may not know the answer, and when it comes to the CARES Act, we probably won't be the subject matter expert, but we do know people who are much more knowledgeable about it than us. So don't hesitate to use us as a resource. Speaking of economic development, we have kind of pivoted a little bit when it comes to economic development. And for those of you who kind of know how it works, there's generally 3 areas, potentially 4, of the economic development area that municipalities concentrate on. We look at recruiting companies to the city. We look at helping them expand. We look at maybe even helping them create or somebody create jobs. And then there's retention, meaning we want to retain the jobs and the businesses that we currently have in the city. They're what generate the revenue that makes the city function. And they're, of course, the ones that create services to provide to the community. Those businesses can be anything from, restaurants to retail to companies, that are providing, direct services like a, hair salon or massage therapist, whatever. We are really concentrating right now, especially on the retention aspect. We know that with this, the restrictions that we see in our community, that it is putting an immense amount of pressure on businesses, especially small ones. So what we're doing at the city is everything we can to help retain those businesses as much as we can. Now, I've mentioned before a few things, but mayor and council have been very proactive and very aggressive in doing things to help those businesses. Mayor and council have done everything from allowing staff to defer into the future due dates for certain monies owed the city by businesses. One of the most common ones would be the business license, or the fee you pay the city for a license to operate a business within the city. We've deferred those due dates and allowed businesses to continue to operate under their 2019 license so that they don't pay the city money right now. That's, of course, to maybe help them survive to fight another day. There are certain other things that we've been doing, like waiving the bank convenience fee on credit card transactions for those who have paid things over the internet. Alcohol excise tax deferment for companies who are restaurants mostly, who are in the business of selling alcohol. So those are some of the things that we've been doing, and mayor and council also, in addition to that, encourage local businesses to join them in doing things like this. And for those who have done that, we've created a community partners page on our website to promote those companies who have also joined the city and stepping up and trying to help those businesses. And I will say that I am pleased to report that I want to say all the banks that have branches within Peachtree Corners are in some way, shape, or form working with those who have loans through those banks on deferring some of the payments or coming up with some sort of a payment plan of some sort. The mayor will be elaborating on some of this stuff on his upcoming newsletter, but mayor and council have been very aggressive at trying to do what we can for local businesses here because, again, we understand the importance of it, both from revenue and also just it's what we as residents here or those who work here, what we use when it comes to the services that we want, whether we want to eat, get our, clothes dry cleaned, go to the grocery store, whatever. We need that. We want it. And we're going to do everything we can to try to protect it. And so that's a lot of our effort. While we've had a slight change in our operational tempo here at the city, it's allowed us to concentrate on things that maybe we didn't have the time to do as much of before. So that's exciting. Now, speaking of having some extra time, I do want to pivot real quick and talk about something that's not necessarily related directly to coronavirus, and that is the census. The census we are currently in a decennial census year. The census has officially opened. April 1 was Census Day, and everybody should have received something in the mail that gave them a login key or password, if you will, for you to get on the website census.gov and for you to spend, it's just a couple of minutes, but confirming the number of people living in your household that's at the address that you receive this mailing from the Census Bureau. And it is extremely important that we get every address that currently exists in the city to have somebody from that address fill it out. The reason it's important is because at the state level, how many electoral votes or representatives to the U.S. House of Representatives is based on population. And so the amount of influence the state of Georgia has on the national scene is directly related to how much our population. So we want to make sure we're accurately counted. At the local level, it is on average, each person is worth about $1,500 a year in federal monies that are eligible for the city to receive. And so a city that has no property tax, is even more important that we maximize the amount of monies that we could be eligible for based merely on population. So please fill that out. As it stood yesterday, we're about half. About half of the city's address has filled it out. That means that there is a lot of addresses that have not filled it out. So please, you should have a little extra time. When I filled mine out, and it's a family of 4, it took me maybe 5 minutes. And I had to list the name of all of the people residing at our address and their age and their race and, their birth date. And that's about it, if I remember. And so, if you have all of that right, at your fingertips, it won't take you any bit of time. You do it via the internet. If you have any questions, if you didn't get the form, reach out to the city. Again, if you send an email to info@peachtreecornersga.gov, it gets sent to a number of us on staff, and we'll help get you that form so that you can fill it out. So appreciate all the help there. All right, last little bit I want to talk about on a serious note, and then I want to end with something that's good. So something to consider is, we have received here at the city numerous calls with concerns and needs from our community. And I received the following information from the Gwinnett Coalition for Health and Human Services that I want to provide to you as an update. And this is an update so that individuals who call for help in our community know where to go. So for anyone in need, in general, you can call the Gwinnett helpline, the Gwinnett County helpline, where you can tell somebody to call. And they are staffed by the Gwinnett Coalition. Their number is 770-995-3339. And then if you call, the person calling will be directed to the correct place for help. And so that's kind of like a clearinghouse for people who are like, hey, I need help in a certain area, and they can direct you. As of yesterday, that helpline has seen a 50% increase in calls, with most of those calls being people needing help with bills due as a result of them losing a job and they're unable to pay. Last week, which was spring break for the Gwinnett County Public School System, through the local co-ops, food was distributed in rather unprecedented numbers. The households served went from 449 to 3,300. The new clients of the local co-ops increased from 22% to 75%. And the total amount of food provided went from 34,000 pounds to 220,000 pounds. So for any senior citizens who need meal assistance, you can direct them to the Gwinnett County Senior Services, which is also operated by Gwinnett County. Their number is 770-822-8832. Gwinnett County Senior Services has doubled their capacity over the past couple of weeks also, so they've also seen an increase. Now, with people being at home, people losing jobs, and stress being higher, unfortunately, there are domestic issues that have increased. To report child abuse or neglect, you can call DFACS at 1-855-GEORGIA-CHILD, as in GACHILD. The number is 844-422-4453. And unfortunately, DFACS is beginning to see an increase. It's gone from about 15 to 20% of an increase in domestic issues that involve children. And they do anticipate it to rise because, again, with the quarantine, school being out, and stress level higher. So let's all be cognizant of that. Let's all watch out for signs of that. Children especially are, not in a position to necessarily take care of themselves. So sometimes we have to help those who are involved in this to take care of them. For anyone in need of utility bill assistance, you can direct them to Project Share, which is operated by the Salvation Army. Their number is 770-724-1661. And most of the major utility companies or, area utility companies have agreements with the Salvation Army for at least a one-time assistance. So that was not an exhaustive list of all the contacts of all the organizations and individuals that are doing great work in the community, but the Gwinnett Coalition for Health and Human Services provided that, and I wanted to get that out. So for anybody who has a need of that, and again, if you missed any of it, feel free to reach out to the city. You can call our main number that does go to a call center in which you will talk to a human, and that human will direct you to the right city department, in which we are working from remotely, but everybody within the city is available. So just because City Hall may not be open, does not mean that you can't get somebody. All right, so let me end on another positive note, like I like to do, of things being done in the community that, call it, warm the heart, people stepping up. This one I want to talk about is an inventor at heart, a guy named Steve Chininis. Steve heard that the medical community was in dire need of face shields to protect doctors and nurses, who were on the front line of those caught up with this virus. So he went to work to try to figure out a way to support this need on his own. So first, he designed the components needed to manufacture the face shields. Then he employed a program to run a 3D printer to make the face shields. We know Steve because he's a resident of Peachtree Corners. He also wears a number of other hats. He's a Georgia Tech professor, and he also mentors startup companies at our Innovation Center here at Curiosity Lab. That's how we know him, and that's how we know how innovative of an individual he is. So what he did is then, After he got all that done, he approached us and we loaned him one of the 3D printers that the Innovation Center has. And he added that to a second 3D printer he owns. And he is now running nonstop those two 3D printers to print components needed for these face masks. He's been able to print and assemble about 25 per day, which he then donates to nearby hospitals and doctors' offices. The printing takes the longest, he said, but the assembly, which his wife helps him with, only takes about 10 minutes. So, when we talked to him, he said that it took him a couple days to figure out how to make them, but he consulted with medical experts to ensure the face shields were made correctly, and now he's kind of rolling them out on a regular pace. He initially paid for the materials to produce the shields, but when the medical communities or facilities learned that he was a local source for them to get face shields, they started making donations to offset his costs. He'll produce these face shields as long as there's a need, and there have been orders placed with him. So another great example of somebody who has stepped up to the plate, used their unique skills or unique resources or other unique time to add to the need and help address the need that we have. And so thanks, Steve. Thanks to all the other individuals that I've mentioned before. The mayor and city council have been feeding these stories to me so that I can convey it to you, because they're extremely proud of being in the governing body here at the city and of having the population that we do. So thanks for being the great residents of Peachtree Corners that you all are, for making the city what it is. Hang in there. Again, every day that we have one of these is a day closer to us going back to times where we did not have these same restrictions. So stay safe. Remember to wash your hands. Keep your distance, the social distancing responsibilities and guidelines. Please adhere to them. And may